What's up, guys? Welcome back to Euphoric Consciousness. I hope you guys are doing well today. It is another beautiful day. It's pretty cloudy and rainy, but it could be a lot worse. So I am thankful. I hope you guys are doing great today. So today's topic of discussion is your life is really just like The Sims. So I kind of just want to talk about how our lives kind of mirror almost like video games in a sense. Obviously, those are set quote unquote destinies for each of those characters, because that's what the developers give them. But the same concept relates to our lives. So the very first thing that I will start off through this discussion for today is that each character, you and I, anyone, has a cornerstone that really sets our lives for who we are. So for me, my cornerstone is being, it's probably going back to when my anxiety was the worst of the worst, where I couldn't go to houses for 5 years. I couldn't go to movies. I couldn't go to restaurants without having anxiety attacks. And that was the pinnacle for me in becoming who I am today. Because if it wasn't for those 5 years of pain and depression and suffering and just terrible times, I would not be confident right now. I would not be as happy as I am right now. I would not be as insightful or wise or knowledgeable as I am right now if it wasn't for that cornerstone experience. So if any of you guys have seen Westworld, it's a really, really good show. I kind of fell off the wagon, if you ask me, towards the end, but great show nonetheless. But it's basically about how humans figured out how to give robots a sense of consciousness, and throughout the show these robots develop their own consciousness essentially, and part of the process of giving them their own consciousness was a cornerstone. So each of these characters within this Westworld, because basically the idea of Westworld was for a bunch of rich people where they can come and have a basically IRL experience in like the Western civilization back in like the 1800s. And you could literally go on hunting experiences, like go kill people, but they were just robots, so you weren't actually killing people. Or you could go to a brothel, have a bunch of sex with a bunch of robot girls, essentially, basically like that. But throughout the show, these robots started getting the consciousness because of one of the people who made them in the very, very beginning set something in their code that basically was like a game, essentially, that gave them this inner talking, this inner voice. So the show did a really, really good job of explaining kind of almost like, in our sense, like where does this inner voice come from? Why do we have a cornerstone experience that gives us our reality, basically? Really, really good show. Definitely recommend checking it out. It's very odd, to say the least. I mean, it's quite, I mean, not graphic, but kind of like sexually. It's pretty sexual at times, which is not my favorite thing in TV shows, to be honest. But other than that, it's a very, very good show, so I definitely recommend checking it out. So for you guys, I don't know, I mean, every one of you has a cornerstone experience that really kind of defines who you are. So it's interesting to me that most people don't understand what a cornerstone experience is, let alone ever know what their experience is that defines them. And in most video games or TV shows or whatever, the character always has some sort of event or situation that gives them their drive to get revenge, or to earn a trophy, or to get a title, or whatever the case might be. There's always one cornerstone experience. And this brings me to my second point, which is each one of us have our own experiences through this cornerstone. So for me, some of the experiences that have led me to where I am right now is through the anxiety, and through those experiences of anxiety, I was able to learn how to control my breath, how to learn to quiet my voice, to quiet that demonic voice that was in my head. I've been able to help other people see their insecurities and their fears in a way that allow them to push through their fear and their anxiety. And through these unique experiences that I've experienced throughout my life, it's really given me a profound effect on myself and through people. And I never really truly understood how much of an impact I've had on people until recently, where people have told me, like, dude, you've really helped me in so many different ways. In me coming from a place of being isolated, I was never expecting to hear that from people. But the more I grow up and the more I understand these past experiences I've had through the anxiety, the more insightful I become, based on what people talk about or tell me about. So it's super interesting to have these experiences throughout my life, to give me a different understanding of myself, but the world in general. And not only that, just to really cultivate our lives in a whole aspect. So like, we all have our own different experiences for the most part. Not for the most part, we all have different experiences, plain and simple. That's just facts. We all have different experiences. Everything is different. There's never the same experience, really. I mean, you go to like the Travis Scott concert, and every single one of those, for the most part, every one of them had a different experience. They all perceived it in a different way. They might have the same connections here and there, but for the most part, it's completely different from the other person. Yet they're all at the same concert. They all experience the same thing, but they perceive things in a different manner. So we all have just these unique experiences that we only perceive through our own minds, our own perceptions, and through our reaction to situations. It comes from our cornerstone. So for me, when I react in an anxious way now, it always reconnects to when my parents argued that night for hours that brought me my anxiety. It always comes back to that moment, and it always comes back to the way that I handled myself at that night, and why it was the worst night of my life, because the way the anxiety just crept up on me was just so intense. So now that if I do have anxiety attack, it's always pretty much the same from that night. So it's interesting that like we all have our own unique experiences. We all have our own unique baggage. But the beauty of all this, and this brings me to my like, not the final point, but the final point for this video, is that we all get to create our perception at the end of the day. So the whole point of those two previous notes were to set the foundation for the fact that our lives are like Sims. So with each like sim character in any really video game, there's always a set cornerstone that gives them the perceived reality of the game that you're playing. So it's the same for us, guys. It's literally the same for us. Obviously, we're not set in a video game where we have to go through this specific route to get that specific thing. We can go through many different ways to receive that thing. But it is the same in the sense that we are the main character in this video game, or in this movie, or in this TV show of a life that we live, or just we are the main character of this world that we live in. Whatever way you want to look at it, it doesn't matter, it's the same. We are the main character in this life, so you have to take into consideration what is going to be the best thing for you, and how are you going to change your mindset to create that thing that you want. Because when you understand that we really are the main character in this movie, or in this game, whatever you want to call it, you start to realize that you really do have full control over every single aspect of your life. And with your past cornerstone, everything stems from that. So you could really get specific and detailed with the things that you want to attract or manifest into your life. Because of that cornerstone, you've learned to overcome your fears, anxieties. You've overcame all the hard obstacles that you find in video games or in movies with characters. They have all been overcome. So at that point, the only thing left is to move forward, right? So for you guys, you really have to instill this into your mind, that you are the main character of this life that you live right now. Right now, you are the main character watching me. I'm a side character. I'm nothing to you. Unless you know me in person, I am a friend, but for right now, you're watching me in this video, talking to you about how you are the main character and I'm just a side character, but I'm telling you, you're the main character. So you have to run with this, and you have to cultivate your life around this new profound ideology that you never once thought of. You might have come across it before, but now that you're actually watching a side character explain it to you and how to live your life in an essence that you really will bring everything that you truly desire into your life, you're going to get exactly what you want. It's a beautiful thing, guys. It's crazy. And this is when the Bible really talks about how God gave us free will. I don't really believe the Bible is so like this, and this. I feel like the Bible is more just like a book of metaphors, to be honest, really. That's how I perceive it. And if I go to hell for that, that's not the God that I want to be a part of anyways, but that's besides the point. But so I think when the Bible really is more talking about how God gave us free will, we have every choice to make the life that we want to live. I mean, that's kind of an obvious, really, if you ask me, of what free will really means for the general person. Like, God or the creator of this world really just, they gave us the keys, man. Like, obviously there are certain things we can't do, but for the most part, we really have every possibility that we desire. And in most like biblical scriptures like that, you guys have to take yourself outside of that Western ideology that you've been distilled with, because I personally think that the Western civilization is probably the most corrupt and desensitized culture that you could ever put yourself in. You go anywhere else in the world, and those cultures are so much more like in tune with spirituality, community, just human beings in general. So you have to take yourself outside of, if you're watching this and you're from United States, just you guys really, because again, like I said, I don't really know. I mean, it depends on where you are in the world, but just, United States is so bad, guys. It's so bad when it comes to spirituality, like faith and all this stuff, because we've been put into a society that just desensitizes us. I mean, look at the current state of life that we're in right now. How did we go from like past civilizations being super like spiritual and spiritually advanced too, with crazy technology, and somehow we've dumbed down to just consumption, and people just think civilizations just died off? I don't know. I have a really hard time believing that we've had past civilizations that somehow had pyramids with gold tops that were mathematically pointed. What was it, like the North Star or something? Something just crazy. How every single pyramid has these metal tops that can harness stars' energy, basically, that are all pointed or mathematically aligned at the speed of light or whatever, something like that, dude. So how did we go from that to being just fat, dumb slaves? You know, like, that just doesn't make sense. My brain literally can't comprehend the idea that we go from some crazy civilization to overconsumption and over just indulgence of materialistic things. And I think part of that is the fact that we don't have this idea that we really do control our reality, that we pretty much just think that this is the life that we're living and we're just a human in this experience and we're just floating through life, and then this is really just life, that's it. But it's like, for me, and what I try to express to you guys, is it's so much more than that. There's so much more we don't know about life. There's so much more about ourselves that we have no idea, that's hidden in our body, is within our DNA. Like, dormant DNA is a thing. Dormant DNA is very much a thing. What happens when our dormant DNA is unlocked? What happens to our powers? What happens to our mind? What happens to our bodies as a civilization? What happens then? We have so much more that we don't understand yet. We have so much more that we are capable of that we don't tap into yet. Guys, it's crazy. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember that you each all have a cornerstone. You each perceive life in your own distinct way, and you control that perception based off of your cornerstone. Those are the 3 things in today's video. rewatch the video if you need to kind of get a better understanding. Give me a comment down below if you have any questions. And again, I hate to be this YouTuber who asks, but likes, comment, shares, they all help the YouTube algorithm. We need more spirituality in this world more than ever. So please spread this around. People need this message. They need to get out of the slum. They need to get out of the state of limbo. Do it for them. Do it for yourself. It only benefits everybody at the end of the day. So please give it a like, give it a subscribe, because you know your boy appreciates it. But y'all have a wonderful day, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Have a blessed day, guys. Peace out.